And yeah, I'm going to be very tight on time today. We got about a half an hour here. Usually I would spend like an hour per module. I have 3 modules to show, so I'm going to try and shrink that down from an hour to about 10 minutes. So I am going to whiz through it really quick. I'm going to try and leave some time for questions afterwards. But really the whole hope with this is to give you guys just a really high level kind of understanding of what the product can do, where it can automate things, as you were mentioning, you know, get rid of duplicate entry and human error, and try and really focus on that to a point where at least maybe perks your interest, where then you guys can follow up with implementation specialists on any more particular questions, or get a more customized demo that may follow your specific workflow that you would like to see. That's one key point that I want to make, is that what I'm going to show you guys today, it's a very customizable software. It's really all on how you do your setups. So it can be as simplistic as you like it to be, or it can be as complex as whatever your setups are that you guys have. And I'm going to be showing an integration that we have today with GP and Key to Act. But we do have standalone versions of this software as well. And we do have other integrations with other ERP systems today that we support as well. And if you're on an ERP system that you know, that doesn't match any of the ones that we have today, although I think everybody does, I think everybody's on GP. We have a very robust API engine that can do integrations. Even if it's not, even if it's, you know, part of the information you want is some other third-party application that's not in your ERP system, we can build those integrations as well. So hopefully everybody can see me on my webcam here. I'm going to just turn it off just to save my bandwidth, but I thought I'd just start off with an introduction of myself here. And I'm just going to kind of jump to my screen that I'm sharing now and just show you guys through the software. And again, just save as much time as I can. So that being said, I'm going to just discuss with you guys just the layout of the agenda. I'm going to start off with our service call quoting app for doing small repairs. It's a mobile application. It's also a desktop application. It's a hybrid. And show you a bit of a scenario of a lead coming in from a technician out in the field, passing that off to somebody in the office where they can follow up with the customer and send out the quote, automatically create the service call and all the details with it. I'm going to show you another part to that app, which is the survey tool, which I can do a quick survey while I'm on site of the equipment, that then is going to flow that into our service contract module, where then now that equipment will be there for me to follow up with. And then finally, our job cost module, I'm going to keep it really simple with an estimate with all 3 of these so I can get through them in that allocated time and be respectful of everybody's other meetings that they probably need to get to after this. So that being said, I hope everybody can see. Let me just see here. Hopefully my webcam is hidden, but maybe it's not, and that's okay. I'll just keep talking anyway. Can everybody see my desktop okay? And my screen that I'm sharing here?
We can see you, and I can see the phone, I believe. Is that what you're sharing?
Yep. All right. There we go. So what this is, what you guys are seeing here today is our dashboard of our mobile field quoting software. And with this, it's doing a real-time integration into GP, and for values of who your customers are, you know, the locations, your inventory, pricing and availability, whether it's the last purchase price or average price, and all of that kind of stuff. So I think it's good to point out that this is a real-time integration you're seeing here. It's not a synchronization that happens with our GP integration. So on this app, you see a dashboard, and the presence behind this is really to give them information, the technicians out in the field, a tool where it's going to motivate them to use it more, and therefore for you guys as a company to drive more sales. And so with some customers of ours, they have an incentive at the end of each month for a gift card or whatnot, or something like that, where if they get the most leads or the most quotes or the most what we call recommendations, think of those as sales leads, you know, prior to the quote, where at the end of the month, if they get the most, then they get the gift card. So maybe it's about just showing that information here to motivate them to say, "Ooh, I'm really close to getting that goal. I just want to get a couple more leads." The concept is I could be out on a roof and I see an opportunity for something I want to recommend to a customer that they fix. and more like a soft sell. If they say yes, you know, hey Mike, I'm a property manager. I just saw the 2 or 3 recommendations that you sent me. Send me 1 quote for that. So it can be a one-to-many relationship. And so by doing so, I can start it off by just saying I want to create a recommendation, and this is going to be for, you know, Walgreens, one of our customers. So I just start to type the name, it shows up, and then looks in GP to see what addresses we have for that specific customer. And so I choose for which address that it's for. And then this is kind of a bit of the thought behind this is your technicians aren't salespeople. And even if your technicians aren't using this, your salespeople using it, you want to automate things as much as possible and reduce human error, standardize things as much as possible, and get rid of duplicate entry. So I'm going to just say, I typically do, I'm going to replace something. Maybe it's a condenser coil or something of that nature. Maybe it's a battery and a generator or whatever the type of business you guys are in. When I select that, what it does is it pulls in the benefits for me automatically. Again, because I'm not a salesperson, it's a technician. I'm not going to take the time to type that out. But the customer needs to understand, why are you recommending that you get this repair done, and why are they receiving a quote when they do? So that's kind of the concept behind it. I can add some more details in here, like a scope of work or something if I want that pulled onto the contract, you know, for, again, XYZ, you know, piece of equipment here or on this building. I can type anything I want after I pull the template in. So the next screen I see is who the bill to customer is, for what location, reassuring that I'm at the right one. And then on below that is really our kind of our standard recommendation screen that has the details as to what this is about. The status of, you know, has this been quoted yet or approved, or has it already been done? And then of course, for which piece of equipment is this for? I get a listing here of any maybe previous repairs that I've done for this customer at this location, maybe previous service contracts. And I can look up and I can say, yeah, it's for this piece of equipment. Maybe it's missing some data here, the serial number. I can correct that or add that at the same time as adding that to this recommendation. And those changes will happen on the equipment as well as creating this quote in GP once I go through the approval workflow. So from here, I can do one of 2 things. I could either just say, oh, I'm a technician, I'm here on site. My process for my company is I at least, you know, I at least grab the part number that I think we need and go ahead and add it. It may be that I only see quantities as a user because I'm a junior apprentice, or I'm more senior where I'm allowed to quote things up to, you know, $500 or less, and I can play around with the markup, or I can at least see it, but maybe I can't adjust it. So all of those are very definitive. It's right down to the individual user level, and it's actually reading the price matrix and labor rate group to know what the sale price should be, or know what the markup should be based off of the cost of the item, or what the agreed upon labor rate it is that I already have with this customer. So again, a lot of intelligence in there so that I don't really need to be a full-on salesperson to get an accurate quote out the door, or if I am a salesperson, I can do it much quicker and easier without having to go look this stuff up in some Excel sheet or in GP or whatever settings I have. So in this case here, I just chosen a technician. It's pulling my pay codes that I have, and I can choose for which one if it's appropriate. Otherwise, it's just defaulting to hourly for me. I can go ahead and add that. It knows what my billable rate is that I've set. I can, of course, just say, it's going to be this many hours. And from here, I can just notify the office of this new sales lead. It's got a nice history here of tracking who I sent it to and when, to which email address, and what exactly the email sent. Alternatively, you know, I could grab some pictures of the document or the equipment itself. Let me just grab one as an example here. Sure, it's this unit, and upload that. I could take a voice memo. I could take a video. If I have my XOI integration turned on, I don't for time's sake here. I would have another button here that would say create XOI job. That would then automatically create the XOI job. It would pass who the customer is, for what location, for what type of a job it is, and automatically pull up the workflow that relates to that specific thing that I've set up as an organization for creating estimates. So for those of you that have XOI, it's just another integration there that we have that will speed that along. We also have an integration with mobile tech that, again, I don't have time to show today, where I could be on a call and close the appointment, and then it will automatically allow me to choose the recommendation that I want to create for that customer, pass that customer and location and equipment that was selected into Quadra, so that then they can start the quoting process without having to even look up the customer or type in the wrong address. So there's a lot of integrations there that we've built over the years that really fully automate it from start to finish. So from here, I can just notify the customer and say, hey, we got a new recommendation here for you. Let us know if you want to quote. They come back and say yes. I say great. I continue on with it here. And again, this could be me on my phone as a salesperson or a tech, or this is me back in the office here. As you can see, it's just going to format the screen to match the screen real estate that I have, whether I'm on a small phone, or in this case, I'm actually on a Microsoft Surface tablet. So now when I create a quote, it shows me this main quote screen. It gives me a summary of what the technician filled out, and me as a salesperson, I could go in and adjust this and say, yeah, okay, that was the right part number. I can see you had 3 hours there. I think that's wrong. Maybe it should only be 2 hours. And maybe you also need a couple extra things. You forgot to include travel time or some per diem or something. So I can make all those adjustments that I want. When I'm done those, I can finally take a look. And again, it's pulling my markup that I had set in GP for this specific customer location. If my permissions allow me to, I can make that a nice rounded number if I want, and you tell me what that markup is, or tell me what that gross profit is, depending on if you guys work in markups or gross profit, or you just want to know what that is as a dollar percentage, or sorry, a dollar amount versus the percentage. Again, I put it in, or I want to break that down individually here at a smaller level. So once I've done those adjustments, then I may have some additional questions that I need to answer or that I ask the customer. And then in this case, if I didn't have enough permissions, it would just say send to office for approval, or it would say, send to manager for approval. In this case, I have the approval to approve quotes up to $225, and I can approve that myself. So whether this came from the technician, I made some changes, and now I've approved it. Now, if he was, back on his device, he's now aware that he can go ahead and send this quote to the customer if he's still in sight with them. Ideally, if I'm already there on a call and I saw this opportunity that I created, I'd like to get that in front of the customer before I leave. It could be urgent. I don't want him shopping around to other competitors. I want to shorten that turnaround time, and maybe I can save him some travel costs because I'm already here. Again, helping secure the fact that you're going to get awarded this work more than not. So in this case, I want to email it to him, or I want to physically show him the quote itself. Again, in my contact manager, if I already had a contact email set up, it would show it. If I want to attach any of the pictures or whatnot that I've taken or videos that I want to attach in the quote, that's going to be emailed to the customer. And then again, I have a number of templates that I can choose to use for the format that I want to show that quote in to the customer. Maybe I have a certain format that a certain customer likes to see it in, or maybe I want it broken out by material and labor, or maybe I just want to show one whole number, and then I can send it as a PDF or as a Word document if I wanted to, view it on my screen first here and make some more changes before I give it to the customer. So I can hit preview, and again, if this was on my phone, it would just pull it up as a PDF. In this case here, I'm actually on my computer, and so it's pulling it up as a PDF that I can then view and then send out if it looks the way I expect it to. This is completely a template. It can look any way you guys want it to. This is just a sample, but for simplicity's sake, it's just showing what's the name of what's the project that we're doing this quote for the repair. This is my company. This is who the customer is, and Bob's the contact there. This is why we should be doing these. That came from my benefits template. It could be pulling in scope of work details here, and then for how much. So really automating this for you guys. Nobody's pulling at their calculator anymore and trying to add this stuff up, or introducing spelling mistakes, or keeping a more consistent format instead of every different salesperson has a different one going out the door. If I send that email to the customer, then again, it's keeping a record of all this kind of stuff. I then get an email letting me know that I have a new quote here for me to review. And what else? So let me just pull it over here. So here's an email example I would have got. Here's the picture of the broken unit that I'm going to fix. Again, helping justify to the customer that you guys are actually repairing legitimate stuff. I always say, I always bring up the example that I wish my car mechanic would send me pictures of the broken part before he calls me. So I actually knew the part was actually broken. That's the whole business case behind, of course, XOI, and building more confidence that this stuff is actually broken. So here is just again the quote the customer would have received, and at this point you just gonna say I want to approve that, and you're still there with your phone and either you're capturing it, you're just signing off like you did your last Amazon package you just received, or it's just me via email approval from customer. This is just me as a manager, maybe back in the office. So now I've completed that, and now I just want to do the final step of creating the service call and just going through and reading my problem types real time. And I go ahead and say something's not working here. Whatever's in red is required fields in the ERP system. We can also make them required even if they're not in the ERP system for more consistent data input. It knows who I am as a salesperson. It knew for which piece of equipment. It knew who I am as a technician. I'm set up as the same right now. One thing I keep forgetting to show is, we do track commissions as well. If this was 2 different people involved, it would do a split commission. You can set those, or you can hide it all together if you guys don't do that. So I'm just going to really quickly do this. Basement was flooded. I have no idea if that's realistic here or not. For which division, I can say tasks or task lists or certain call type. It's an asset repair, and I want to schedule this guy to come out tomorrow and go ahead and create that. So as I'm going through these steps, I'm seeing the progress and the status of it, which I can report on. But I think more importantly, for those of you that are using GP, it really comes down to, okay, now I got to hand this off to somebody, and somebody's got to manually enter this in. No, let's stop that wasted time and have those clerical people doing much more higher level, learning type stuff, instead of just being a data entry person, which I'm sure they would all love to agree with. They would rather do, and we would love to save their time doing other things. So here's an example of that. The fan not working. This is the service call that's just automatically created from just approving it. Here's the salesperson, the technician. Here's the billing amount, the service call quote detail that I filled in. Here's the appointment that was already created and scheduled. So now at this point, it's already back in Mobile Tech or on the schedule board. I can schedule it for somebody else tomorrow if I want, or I just refresh my device. And now I have the service call created here for me that I can then continue on with working on while I'm still on site and enter my time and continue on as need be. So that's really kind of that in a nutshell. I'm going to just keep going here just again because I want to make sure I have enough time to try and do my best to get through as much as I can. So let's take another scenario where I just want to look up a customer now, and I want to look up Walgreens, and I search for them, and I pick for which location, and it's this corporate office. And I can look at any quotes maybe we've done for them and the status of them, or ones that have been sent. Maybe I want to follow up with them. I'm heading out there, or any recommendations. In this case, I want to look at the equipment that they have, and I can see that they have these pieces of equipment here. But I'm coming out to do a maintenance agreement, and I know there's a lot more. And again, whether maybe I'm a salesperson or I'm a technician where I'm just catching up with this stuff while I'm on site after I finish the service call. I can go ahead and add new equipment now. And I'm just gonna, let's just see here. This is a, some kind of rooftop, number 4,000, unit or 400. The type is a package AC unit, and I have all my sizes. The idea here is that I don't have to type very much. It's pulling it from templates, getting more, again, consistent, clean data when it gets entered in, and saving me time from having to type out the whole thing and then introduce spelling mistakes. So I can just type in, I have to do this type of TRA, and there's train. This is on, the rooftop, and the model is this 1500 something or whatever, and it has this serial number. And so I can continue to, capture this information. When was it installed? And once I do that, so where's the new one I added? Rooftop unit 400. If I go back now into our core module, where I can then create a service contract, this is our create service contract screen. Again, these are all just web-based. You can access from anywhere or any device that has a web browser in it. Of course, our mobile app is more formatted for our mobile screen size, but again, I'm using this on a Microsoft Surface tablet today. So now I go to look up Walgreens. Again, real-time integration into GP, pulling back now our locations that we have there and the equipment that they have installed in those locations. So I'm going to change this to be the, which one was it? 33, I think, corporate office. So it's pulling in the address info. I don't need to type that out. When I go to create the quote letter to them, it knows who the contact is there. Again, it knows who I am as a salesperson. I've set it up to say we bill quarterly by default as a company, so I have to select that each time. Same with bill days. You know, when do we normally schedule this work to go out? And what I see now is the pieces of equipment that were already previously there, plus that new one that I just added from my site survey that I did using the mobile app. So here's that new one I added. It also knew, because I chose, was able to choose from our equipment types that we have to say, if it's a 15-ton package AC unit, these are the standard tasks that we would perform for a maintenance agreement. And I'll go into that in more detail to show you how you can manipulate them very quickly. If I wanted to just import it from an Excel sheet, let's just say you guys are getting the equipment in an Excel format, the customer gives you a list, or it's just easier to type them out in Excel and, you know, drag and drop a bunch of values and to repeat them and copy them. Sometimes that's a lot faster than, of course, just entering in one at a time. So I could choose that file from a CSV import. I go ahead and import that, and again, immediately I have all those items added with their specific make, model, serial number. Maybe there's additional details about them as well, like their belts or filter sizes that I've imported as well, which I'll show. So again, there's a legend here to show which ones are new, which ones are imported. I could just add some on the fly as well. Some air handler unit that's 15 horsepower, and I have a HU15 rooftop, and I've got 5 of them. I can also just mass add 5 real quick, and this is just a real quick high-level estimate that I wanted to do as well. So from there, it's got some really cool wizards. It'll do some predictive AI kind of learning on what material you need based off of previous quotes that you've done, and give you a confidence rating, you know, based off of, you know, we've done a lot of quotes for this make and model before, and you know, I know it's, you know, this is what we chose, the belt and filter. You know, 9 times out of 10, if this was, you know, more realistic data versus demo, would be probably more like 90% or higher. And so I could just say, show me the material that we've used that someone's already taken the time to before to figure out, and choose that for me, so I don't have to go look it up. You know, over time, this will get better and more accurate. It's like having a setup that has all this detail, a setup that you never have to create and you never have to maintain, and it gets smarter over time the more contracts that you bring and that you create. So, you know, eventually we're going to expand this to start doing some more predictive stuff for labor, but the idea is to get more of this intelligence out of those baby boomers' heads and into the software, as they're being, you know, there's a shortage of technicians in North America, and it's becoming a problem. And yeah, we need a way to transfer this knowledge and information easier, and this is just one way to do it. So one last real quick thing here. I know I'm not doing good on my timing here, but I'm gonna get in as much as I can. So this is a travel time calculator. It goes out to look at who the customer is and your closest dispatch center, your site ID. So it'll figure out what's the closest one and what the return distance is to travel, and calculate your travel time. So there's a service contract for Walgreens. I'm just giving it a title now. I'm going to say what type of contract it is. I'm going to say it's going to start, you know, start next month. It's going to go for 1 year. And I'm going to do it with these pieces of equipment and create the service contract. So from here, it's already calculated what that contract is based off of my standard effort for that type of equipment that's that size. That's generally how it works. From here, I can, I could do a number of different things. One of them being, if I wanted to show this right in front of the customer on my tablet until I got it down to a price that they accepted, having things in this granularity allows me to quickly say, you don't want me to do the emergency diagnosis? Fine, I'll just take that out. See how much that saves off. Oh, it shaves off almost, $1,000 for you. The idea is that if they don't like the price and it's too much, you can choose to remove specific tasks or services you're going to perform versus just giving them a discount and cutting into your profit margin. So, maybe it's that normally it would take, 1 3/4 hours for this correction to be performed. But on this particular customer, it's going to be 2 hours. And so we can look at that and say, yeah, I can do this quick adjustment for every time I come out. Maybe I want to change the frequency to be, every 4 months instead of once a year because it's the high use piece of equipment, and do that adjustment and see how much that affects my price and the hours involved. I can continue to just do things like that where I need to cut and paste your kind of standard Excel stuff and move things around to the certain months that we're actually coming out and what it is that we're performing. If I wanted to say, yeah, in December, we have a lot of snow or rain, I want to add a factor to that month, not just every time we come out, just that 1 month. I want to increase my effort. So I can do a lot of things in here by adjusting the frequency, the effort, the factoring, or just rescheduling of when I do that. And as you can see in October here, I have work scheduled. And when I then come to look, I can see in October, I've got that travel time calculated because I'm coming out to schedule to do work that month. If I actually just remove those tasks that are scheduled for October and clear them and say, no, we're not coming out that month for anything, then the system automatically says, oh, you're not coming out that month, so I'm going to automatically take away that travel time calculation as well. So very intuitive in that perspective. Maybe I want to see, I'm in purchasing and I want to see what we need to order for this contract next month. We need something is December. Here's the belt and filters that we need. And maybe it's not by that. Maybe it's more by the equipment ID. And I want to see, here's a couple pieces of equipment that we have, and here's the material that we need for each one and the months that we need it in. So I can keep adding more material and labor if I want, or crane rentals, or whatever else it is that I need. And then finally I get to this bid summary where, again, I can show the commission, I can show or hide it, I can state what my default is, I can either allow them to change it or not, it's individually set, and then same with the gross profit or gross margin, I should say. And, again, just coming in here and just rounding this to some nice number and it doing the math for me of what that gross margin is, or me just coming here and saying, yeah, I just want it to be 50. So you can do those final tweaks. I can turn on guaranteed maintenance that will also allow me to have a bunch of additional risk factors where I can, just make sure if this is the full coverage or guaranteed maintenance that I'm covering my butt here on any, how old is the equipment and stuff like that. It's more of an insurance policy, be a little riskier, and that's why, it can be more profitable, but you want to make sure that you've got all your bases covered for your risks that are involved. So I can say how old this equipment is. All of these are user defined and what kind of a factor based off its age you want to apply. So let's just say I do it for all. It's going to increase, if I included a labor factor, went from 8,000 per bill to 12,000. Obviously a big increase over here. Same with material. I only have $153 right now of material, but it went to 230. So it allows you to have these factors in here. It already knew how old those pieces of equipment were, that they were 7 years old based off of putting in the installation date. This was a multi-year contract. It would know that the equipment's getting older each year. You would actually see an increase year over year of the cost of the contract to take that into consideration. So there's some pretty neat ways in there to also apply, factors for increasing, year over year your CPI index. Finally, I want to create this quote for the customer to review. And again, excluding subtasks. I can have a number of templates here to show subtasks or not, or show items that I excluded or not excluded, just to cover my own butt, to say, yeah, normally we would do these tasks. You guys chose not to because, because of cost. And I just want to let you know that normally we would include that. So if it breaks down because of not doing that, it's outside of the scope of the contract. So here's just another sample again, what that may look like. Again, saving you guys from typing all this stuff out or doing a search and replace on a boilerplate that you have for, a Word document for these. It's doing all that automatically in the background. So dear, whoever the customer was, me as a salesperson, where the location was versus the billing address for that customer, pulling all that stuff in. Nobody needs to type that anymore. A description of to and from what the contract is, how much it is for, how much that works out to, quarterly from an invoicing perspective, let it do the math. And then all of the different pieces of equipment, make, model, serial number, the months that we're coming out, and what we're performing when we do, being very detailed so they understand if they compare your contract to somebody else, a competitor, why yours maybe be a bit more or why they should go with yours over somebody else's if they're the same price, where yours is very detailed and the other one may be blank and they have no idea what they're getting their money for. So I think it's important to be detailed when you can, if it's that easy to with a piece of software like ours, but not saying that you could just have one task here for do service. It can be that simple as well if that's how you have your GP configured. So I've hit the limit here for my time. Is it okay if I go a bit over, or do we want to stop it there and ask questions?
Well, we can see if there's any questions. Feel free to type in your question or raise your hand. And I know you have so much to show us. This is so slick. I absolutely love the time that you're saving here for customers. This is incredible. So very good job. I think we're okay with going a little bit over if since I love the topic. Since I love the topic and you're doing a great job. How's that sound?
I do have to jump off in about 10 minutes for another call, but I will keep going until as long as I can there to show as much as I can. So I'll
that'd be great.
Of course, apologize if you have to jump off, and hopefully we can catch up later. So I just quickly approved it. It went from calling it a quoted, a service contract quote to calling it a service contract. So it literally, in a matter of about 3 seconds there or less, it actually created that service contract for me automatically, and it's giving me the number. So Walgreens, it was for this address, and I'm going to look at the contract, and the number was number 555. There we go. So there's the contract that it automatically created for the contract amount, that it was quarterly, that it was for my commercial division. These are the start and end dates, who I am as a salesperson. Again, filling out all these screens in very granular detail that most people don't take the time to if they have to do it manually. Putting in what your estimated costs are, knowing what the markups are and the difference between that and the commission. I can get right down to, which months and how many hours we're coming out to for those specific months, for the specific tasks that we've scheduled for them to happen, and what's that work out to from a dollar perspective. Same with, the material items and all that kind of granular detail. So I'm going to just back out of here quick. What else? Billing. So it's calculated how much that works out to billing in which months. So doing that for us. The labor load. So this would, if I already had a default technician assigned to this location, then it would have already assigned it to him. And again, for how many service calls, and use the visit wizard, and it would automatically schedule them for me. And now I've already got all the mobile tech service calls created. In this case, it's just unassigned because I don't have a default technician for this location, and it's just sitting on the dispatch board for me to then assign. Coverage. So here's all the different tasks. Here's all the new pieces of equipment that it created for us automatically, either from doing the mobile survey or the import. And again, just as an example, all the details that came in from that import, even things like belts and filter sizes that'd be, important information for me as a salesperson when creating the contract. And then all the tasks that are associated to that as well that we're going to perform that relates to that specific piece of equipment, and even these subtasks. So that's very detailed to even show the the customer if they're questioning why that took so long, or even just, again, for your more junior technicians so that they understand, what do they need to do to perform this task and say it's actually complete. What else? So that's it mostly for the service contract. Again, very rushed. There's a ton more there to it that I could probably show. And then finally, we have our job cost. So this is for more, I only have about 4 minutes. I don't know if I'm going to get through this one at all, but I will show as much as I can in that time. So this is for more larger jobs. They need progress billing. They go over multiple days. All of these quotes that I'm creating right now, they all just sit in our Quadra database. It's on the same SQL servers where GP is or whatever your ERP is. Every one installation we've done to date has been that way. They haven't needed to purchase new hardware or anything. And it's sitting there in our database until the quote gets approved so that you're not getting a bunch of all these new customers in your system and quotes and contracts for ones that you never got awarded. And then the benefit of it being into a database is that you get all this amazing rich reporting on it to say, show me my sales funnel, show me all the quotes I've sent out between this date range, for this salesperson, what's the total revenue and all that kind of stuff. All of that is in there. We have a ton of reports to show that. In this case here, I want to create a job for my electrical division. And depending on the division, I have different, templates of work that we do for that. Again, templating this stuff as much as possible, save time, make things more consistent. In this case, if it was a commercial job, maybe it was an AC furnace install. So I guess it depends on the division, and the type of work or jobs that division would do is what's filtered out. And you can see it automatically fills in a bunch of values for me here. It even has a task list, from a project management perspective of what you would normally follow for that type of job that you can report on and capture. And then what are the cost codes associated to doing that type of work. So really, again, all I'm left with is, well, you give it a name. So, AC install or furnace install for, ABC Co, whoever the company is. Again, real-time lookups here, can add new locations or whatnot. Create what we call a job request, kind of like the recommendation versus a real quote. This is a job request versus a job. It's a precursor to it, so you can get the quote out without creating one in the system. So again, another very similar screen here, where you have a banner at the top giving you some basic info, and then a number of tabs across the bottom where you can start building that estimate. This one, because jobs are more complex and larger, has a lot more intuitive and detailed estimating tools than doing a simple service call quote for something that's just a repair. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in here that, again, it would take a day to show all, where it does a bunch of auto calculations based off of square footage, or I can have locations, or even something cool like this where I could say, yeah, I have a template here for, a 3 to 5 ton HVAC unit that we install. I'm going to select that as an assembly here. Yeah, normally when we install it, it requires these parts. It's where you kind of got a kit together for them. But I've also got labor involved in how long it would normally take 10 hours. And that's for a 2-ton unit. But let's build some intelligence into this. If it's a 3-ton unit instead, well, now I need a crane rental, and it's going to take more. I also need an additional technician for 2 hours. So again, you can really build this out and automate it, help standardize things, and help with those more junior estimators to get this done accurately and quickly. There's a whole bunch of tabs here I'm not going to have time to show, but again, it's very similar to that, where I can go create the quote letter for the customer to see. It looks the same as the other module. I also have, again, I never had a chance to show it, another one, a project management tab here, where I can go through the woes and the flows and build out my workflow. I'm part of this admin group that does the internal approvals. I automatically get an email now because the quote's been completed. I'm assigned to that, and that's the prerequisite. So you can get all these automatic email alerts in this whole flow, just to say, hey, you know what, that task has been completed for ABC Co. Click here to view and do the approval on this. So I go in here, then I do my approval. It's capturing all of these things as I'm doing them. The fact that I said it to be approved on this date and time, that I removed an alert or added one, or I want to upload a file or a comment of some kind, just like Microsoft Project, but without all the extra fancy stuff that you don't use, and really scale down to simplify it for the ones that you would typically use for a job like this. And then finally, I'll just show the last integration point here. I think that's important. And I want to approve this. The customer approved it. Oops. Approved. And approve. And oh, that job doesn't exist yet. If you want us to auto-generate it, you want us to auto-generate the job number for you too, based off a naming convention. Great. It's going to go from calling it a job request to now calling it an actual job. It was for my commercial division, so I had an acronym to put in for com, and the year, and then the number. There's a number of different formats that you can choose to do. I can then continue on and say I want to create a purchase order for this, or a sales order. I want to do a standard ship versus a drop ship. These equipment items that were material, I want those to be added as equipment items on that customer location, because those are going to turn into things we're going to do maintenance agreements for. So automatically add these as pieces of equipment to that customer as well. So again, just linking all these modules together and really automating as much as we could. You know, I can compare vendors. I can see which vendors, this is looking up in GP, the vendors you have for these different items, and I can quickly compare them and say, yeah, I'm going to get everything from Train here. They look like they have everything at the best price, except for, you know, this one particular item here. I'm going to get from here. So as I'm selecting them, it's knowing how many purchase orders I need to automatically create. So it's automatically going to create 2 POs for me because it's going to 2 different vendors. Here's the total amount. Go ahead and automatically create the purchase orders for me. So it just continues to automate that throughout the system, and again, just save the back-end people a lot of time while simplifying things for the salespeople and enabling technicians to also be salespeople as well. Purchasing, purchase order entry. I'll just show this last one real quick here. The PO number was a couple there, but so here's the one. It added me as the buyer. It knew who the vendor was. It linked it already to the job and for how much and how many, and so on and so forth. Now, if this was hundreds of items, I'm not wasting time retyping out the PO that we need to order. The same could be for a sales order, or in this case here, showing the job that it created for me, com-20, what is that?
Okay, Mike, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
There you go. Okay, we had a silence for a moment. So I do have a question here for you too.
Sure.
Okay, does the survey module have to feed into the equipment list, or can it be held to be deleted or edited before being put into the equipment list? Great question.
Yeah, it can be edited before it goes into the equipment list, and it can follow an approval process.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions? I don't see any other questions. You can follow up with me afterwards or directly with Mike as well. Thank you, Mike. What an awesome job. We will send this recording out to all those that have attended, or as well as had signed up and were unable to attend at the moment. So once again, thank you everyone for taking time to attend, and what a fantastic job, Mike. Keep up the great job. Oh, I love the efficiencies that you've pulled into the tools. Just fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I know it takes a lot of information to take in all at once and digest. So, you know, feel free to follow up with yourself or myself if you guys have any questions, you know, over the next couple of days, and would love to get back to you and answer any of those questions, or provide a more custom demo that matches your workflow that you'd like to see.
Okay, great. Thank you, and have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.